Patrick, we've done it. The season is here. What year is this for you on the beat with the Bears?
My first game of any kind with the Bears was the regular season opener in 2013. So me and Mark Trestman started on the same day.
Wow. Okay, and you are still there. He is not. Is this a different beat for you? I think you know why I'm asking when it comes to quarterback play. Does this feel like a bit of a different job for you heading into this season?
It is, and for a lot of reasons. Number one is that Caleb Williams is a legitimate American celebrity already. He is probably the first college player to fully embrace NIL. This is the guy who was
Yeah.
doing Dr. Pepper commercials 2 years ago. I like to tell people this. He had his own bobblehead night at Dodger Stadium. There you
Right.
go. That's a celebrity right there. And for the Bears to be inheriting kind of a fully formed, quantity is something very new. Also, the excitement level that he has created around town because of his celebrity, but also because of what he does on the field. That is very different here. And then you sit there, and Cole Kmet said it the other day. My God, there are plays where Keenan Allen's the third option, and boy, that's different than anything the Bears have ever had too. You combine that with Hard Knocks, you combine that with the extra preseason game this year, you combine that with the fact that all eyes are going to be on the number one overall pick in the draft. And yeah, it's a lot different than, John Fox and Mark Trestman and a lot of Matt Nagy's tenure here as well.
It's interesting you bring up the bobblehead because when I talk to people around the program at USC and I ask them, you know, is Caleb Williams misunderstood nationally? And they said yes. And they said if you look at the kind of teammate he is, they used the bobblehead at Chavez Ravine, where he brought his offensive lineman with him. When he won a Heisman Trophy, he brought his offensive lineman with him. I think that those that you talk to closer to the program has worked out more or seemed to be more truthful about who Caleb Williams is nationally than the conversation that was surrounding him.
Yes, I think that's true. Bears players that I have talked to since the day they drafted him have talked about how surprised they were that he was just a normal, hardworking football player. And, there's a lot of stuff that's abnormal about him. I mean, this is the guy who was, taking media training, in his teens in high school. This is the guy who lived on his own in high school so he could be closer to school. That is a little different. But, boy, the Bears really like him inside these walls. And, boy, if he can win some games, I think they'll like him even more. I asked him the other day about Bobblehead Day. I'm like, just what was that like? And I think his answer was, it was freaking sick, I think was his answer, which, he was a guy who was tickled by not only the gesture that the Dodgers had, but, kind of putting them up and putting his linemen up at Chavez Ravine.
Insert sarcasm font here. How fat and out of shape is Keenan Allen?
He's not. And I don't, I have suspicions of kind of how this got started. I think part of it was, I think there was a typo in the Bears weight listing at some point this during the preseason. And I think that set off this, dumb little Bears Twitter, conspiracy theory. I'm not in the business of disproving people who don't know what they're talking about. So it's nothing we've really attacked here, but I can tell you that I've seen him in practice and he looks like Keenan Allen. And, Father Time may catch up to him, but I don't think anything about his diet or his body shape is going to catch up to him.
Keenan Allen last year, he was second in the NFL in completion percentage and throws under 2.5 seconds. That's a really great stat if you have, an underperforming offensive line. Would that be your biggest concern for a position group for the Bears at the O-line?
Offensive line and defensive line, yes. They're happy with the depth on the O-line, but I think that's something you say when you're not necessarily thrilled with the starting five. And they need more depth on the defensive line, which is, I think, something you say when you are happy with the starters that you've got. The Bears need everybody to stay healthy. Obviously, you can make that case for any team in the league. But if you look at the different sets of O-linemen the Bears have had to use in Matt Eberflus's time here, it's in the high teens. That's crazy. So just that continuity will help them. Of course, you've got Nate Davis and Tevin Jenkins, two guys who haven't been known for their durability. That's part of the issue here. But I think that's where I would be the most concerned, followed by the fact that, they've known for, 10 months now that they needed somebody to rush opposite Montez Sweat, and they really haven't found anybody they're relying on DeMarcus Walker, who's a pretty good player, and then a lot of just role players behind him. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something where if the Bears halfway through the season are feeling pretty good about themselves, that they can move on that at the trade deadline.
If we look back to week 1 last year, the Bears, they just looked ill-equipped. They did not look prepared. They were manhandled by the Packers, got off to an 0-4 start. Have you seen a different training camp this year from Eberflus? Have you seen actual changes, or have we just watched the roster drastically improve?
The roster is healthier, and I think part of that is, goes back to Matt Eberflus and what their training staff has been able to put together. I have a pretty good feeling, as we sit here now, that their first injury report, which comes out in a couple hours, is going to feature nobody who is out. That's really good news, considering that Tevin Jenkins started last season on IR, and that Nate Davis had some personal issues going on that had him, limited and away from the team for the first couple of weeks last year. That right there is an improvement. I think they also are playing a team at home in the Titans who they should beat, and that's helpful. At this time last year, there weren't many teams in the NFL worse than the Bears, on paper or otherwise. This year, that's different, and I hate to make too much out of the opener, but if you can't beat the Tennessee Titans at home, it may be a long season. I think they'll be just fine though.
Will Levis had a 58.4% completion percentage last year in the NFL. That was worst in the league. He was 3-6 last year. Any thoughts on how you think the Titans offense may try to attack the Bears defense?
They have, a new head coach in Brian Callahan, and Brian's dad, Bill, is their new, offensive line coach. So it's going to be different than what Will Levis did last year. If I were them, I would. I'm not sure I'd throw. As dumb as that sounds, when you look at Jalen Johnson on one side and Tyreek Stevenson on the other, and Kyler Gordon and his ability to blitz. And then you combine that with Kevin Byard, who, I think is, has a chance to be the heart and soul of this defense, just personality wise, and a healthy Jaquan Brisker. And, Brisker's not always healthy. Man, that might be the best defensive backfield in football. And, it certainly can be by the middle of the season. I wouldn't want to test anybody. If I were throwing, especially if I was Will Levis. The next week when they see CJ Stroud, I think I'll have a different opinion, but Will Levis may find himself a little overmatched there.
Yeah, Levis's boom or bust style last year may certainly open up some opportunities for the Bears.
He was Jay Cutler. I thought he was poor man's Jay Cutler in college. I think he's poor man's Jay Cutler in the NFL. And that might actually be a little insulting to Jay.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. Although Jay probably wishes he had the physique of Will Levis. Are you on record of a prediction this year?
Yeah.
Have you done that for the Sun Times yet?
I have. I've got him at 9-8. I think 9-8 with a rookie quarterback playing well would be a massive jump and far more important than just the 2-win differential between this year and last. I think playing in the NFC North, the Bears are going to have a really tough go of it, especially in the second half of the season, presuming that the Packers stay healthy and that the Lions stay healthy. If so, I think there's a chance they could go 9-8, finish third in the NFC North, and still be a playoff team. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility. The Packers last year were a playoff team at 9-8. And if that's what the Bears do, and if Caleb keeps showing constant improvement, I think that this year has a chance to be a very good launching pad for the future. I know people who pick them to go, 10-7 or 11-6. I just got to see it first. As you mentioned, I've been doing this a long time here, and I'm not quick to jump in with 2 feet, so I'm not going to.
The Bears make the playoffs and I'll answer it first. I think the Bears can make the playoffs if they can go 2-2 with the Packers and the Lions. Now, maybe that means that they lose to the Packers twice and they beat the Lions twice. But if they can split in division in those matchups with the rest of the schedule, with the way it sets up very favorably, especially with Sam Darnold in Minnesota, I think they have a chance to get to the playoffs if they go 2-2. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. I'd also tell you that, they beat up on the Lions pretty good at home last year, and they probably should have won the game in Detroit too. So the Lions are one of those teams that I think they match up well against anyway, which gives them a chance. You could argue that the Bears played the Lions better than anybody until the San Francisco 49ers beat them, at least in the second half of last season. Yeah, that's a good place to start. I think they play well if their offensive line can stay healthy. I know that that's a boring answer, but I think that's the case. I would even argue to you that, if something happened to Caleb and he had to sit a month the way Justin Fields did last year, I think Tyson Bagent's in position to keep things very steady. Let's put it this way. I don't think Tyson Bagent would be the worst quarterback in the division if he were the starter right now. So to me, that gives me some comfort. You want to see Caleb get better. You want to see him get those reps so he can start building that Rolodex. But to me, this is all about offensive line health. If they're upright, they'll be able to keep him upright, and that'll be good for everybody.
You think Ryan Poles could move Tyson Bagent for a pretty decent draft pick?
Maybe, but I don't know how that helps them. I mean, if the NFL has shown us anything in the last 2 or 3 years, it's that you need a backup quarterback who can start and win you games. And the Bears kept Tyson and did not add a veteran this offseason because they're convinced that Tyson can start and win them games. He went 2-2 last year as the starter. I think he's much better this season. I think he's got much better players on his side of the ball than he did last season. Could they get a second or third rounder for him? Maybe if they found the right team. But, if you're trying to win games this year, and that's what the Bears are doing, he's more valuable on your team. I would hate to have the Raiders' third-round pick and, have Austin Reed have to come in and try and win me a game.
Right.
Tyson, this is what, for decades, people wanted the Bears to do that they never did, which was draft and develop quarterbacks to have some depth and to step in and help the ball club. And now that they've done it, I would be in no rush to get rid of him at all. I think he's more valuable here than what they could get for him.
Patrick, thanks for your time. I don't think that the Bears are Super Bowl bound this year. I do think they're on the cusp of a new era. And I think that it's all with what's about to happen under center.
Yeah, the word we've been using around here is not a word I've used a lot at Hallis Hall, and fun. It's the word fun.
Right.
They are going to play relevant games past Thanksgiving. They are going to have an offense that does some interesting things, and all of that will be something we couldn't say about the last couple of years.
Patrick, thanks for your time.
Hey, thank you.